Well, the reprieve from deep questions is over. Last week on Facebook, I did a live video because I was a little bit upset, and to be honest, I was pissed. Today, I want to replay that video for you, just the audio portion, on what most men get wrong and why you might not be getting the results that you want in life. It was a really good conversation that I had, essentially with myself, because it was a live video. But I want to make sure that you get the information as well, because I think it's a message that every dad needs to hear. And if I'm going to be truthfully honest, it's a kick in the nuts that most dads need. Because there's a lot of lies that we buy into every day. There's a lot of BS that we're selling that we actually become the primary customer of, that we never realize there's a different way. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you are not following me on Facebook, go ahead and head on over there and follow me. So that way you can stay up to date with all the different posts, content, and different things that I'm creating. All right. I wanted to drop on and do a video about something that kind of pissed me off. And I see it a lot. And that is dads repeating the cycle over and over. I know that cycle because I was in that cycle. There's this perpetual problem that dads face. We have X problem and we try to solve it. But here is the flaw in our thinking. We try to solve it with the same amount of information that we had before. We try to solve it with the same information we had before. We try to solve it from the place where we actually are. We try to solve it from a place that sometimes we don't even actually know where we are. Sometimes we're sold on the destination of where we want to go. But the part that I heard in my story and fell into this trap multiple times is if you don't know where you are, you can't go where you want to go. I'll repeat that one more time for the guys in the back. You can't go where you want to go until you know where you are. Google Maps is a brilliant tool, but it has two inherent flaws. One, you have to have a destination. Two, you have to know where you are. Without those two things, Google breaks down. Literally, Google Maps, this massive tool that can take you anywhere on the face of the earth, is useless unless you know where you are and where you want to go. Now, even Google can take you from one part of the country to the other and tell you it's going to be 24 hours. Now, there's a lot of road stops in there. There's a lot of bumps and bruises. There's a lot of time for sleep, but Google doesn't really tell you that. Google's going to help you understand the fastest route there. In my story, time traveling back, the part that I had wrong is I knew exactly where I wanted to go. I knew exactly the kind of dad I was trying to become, but I didn't know what I was running from. I didn't know the subconscious beliefs about myself that I was holding on to. I didn't realize that you can't go where you want to go until you know where you are. And I'll add a sub-bullet to that. You can't go where you want to go until you know where you are, and you can't know where you are until you know how you got there. You can't know where you are until you know how you got there. Because if you don't know how you got there, you are destined to repeat it. Maybe you know this feeling that you go into this roundabout and you see the sign for the right exit. You take that exit and somehow you're right back into it like it's a bad Truman Show movie. And no matter how many exits, he always comes back in the same exit and he can't figure out why he can't leave the city. Why is it my life is this constant repeat? Why do when I look back at the history of my life, do I see a pattern of this same mistakes? Why don't I learn that that's a tripwire right there that keeps blowing my leg off? You'd think if you're blowing your leg off, you would learn why that didn't happen. Why do we repeat mistakes? I believe because we don't excavate first. As men, we are told to go out into the world and build. We are told to go out into the world and conquer. We are told to go out into the world and climb that hill. But here's what I know about learning how New York City and why New York City is the skyscraper capital that we know it today. Because New York Island, Manhattan Island, is built on bedrock. The bedrock on Manhattan Island is pristine for building skyscrapers. If you've ever seen them build a skyscraper, they excavate way down. They hit bedrock, and every pylon, every steel casing that goes into the ground hits bedrock before they ever put a story on top of that building. How many men listening to this today have tried building a skyscraper only to have it crumble? Only to get to the 10th floor and realize they can't hold the weight of what they built? How many people get to the 15th story and realize it doesn't work? We dig down to bedrock to find foundation, to find strength, to make sure that there's no insecurities in that bedrock and that dirt that's going to hinder the growth that this skyscraper is going to experience. Now we're just talking about weight. What about the forces that act on that building? What about the wind that that building has to be able to withstand against? What about in California, where the ground actually shakes? Do you have built-in stabilizers in your life to make sure that you're not shaken by what happens around you? This idea of what we're talking about is why most men don't get ahead. It's why I didn't get ahead. I know firsthand experience. Part of what I had wrong was this. I didn't find someone that walked through the hell that I was trying to walk through. I didn't find someone trying to walk through the hell that I was trying to walk through. Most men don't get results because we don't ask this particular question. What do you want? What result do you want in your life that you've never had? Really get specific on that question. Then, the second component. What have you never done to get there? 2 parts. What have you tried to get your entire life, but it's been too far out of reach? 2, what have you never done to get there? If you want a result in your life you've never had, you need to do things that you've never done. By definition, doing the things that you've already done is the early stages of the definition of insanity. The definition of insanity is often popularized. It makes good memes as doing things, repeating that lesson over and over without learning the lesson. Most people walk through life just going through life however they go through it. They never realize what they're carrying. They never realize what they're not understanding about their life. They never understand how to be better. Just talking to a dad today, and he messaged me and said, I know there's a better version of me, a better human, a better husband, a better father in me, but I need help bringing it out. I need help excavating who I am to get where I'm going. Because I'm building something big, and I know I'm going to need strong foundation to build it. I know I'm building something big, and I'm going to need a solid foundation to build it. My program is called It's Time to Come Home. My mission started with bringing every dad home. So therefore, my program brings dads home. But let's talk about this word home for a minute and why it's so important. Because home isn't something you pay with your mortgage. It's not just a house. It's not just the knickknacks from Hobby Lobby that you buy to make it feel like a home. Because I've seen many homes that look pristine, but are empty on the inside. I've seen men have massive homes that are broken on the inside. So don't tell me that home is a place that you pay with your mortgage or that you hang stuff on the wall. Home is a feeling that you create on the inside. Home is a feeling that you do from the inside out. It's an inside job. You create a home by creating the feeling of home on the inside. Jesus said, build your house on a solid foundation. Build your home on a solid foundation. That foundation is bedrock. You cannot build a solid home until you understand what is in your soul. What does that excavation process look like? Have you ever had that excavation process started? And are you finishing it? Now, it's often never complete. but hitting bedrock is the most important component. There's a distinct reason why my program is 8 weeks, because it takes 2 to drill the bedrock and it takes 6 to get you to living. 2 weeks to bedrock, 6 weeks to living. Because when you're going to build a skyscraper, you're going to need tools. Because the higher you get, the more difficult it can feel like life can be. When you're building that skyscraper, there are specific tools that you need to know on the way up. The idea of what I do is built on with my own failures in life. I took what it made me 10 years to figure out the hard way of tripping over the same mistakes over and over and compartmentalized into 8-week structure. These are the 8 weeks that I wish I had. And just like building a skyscraper, there is a process. We understand where you are. We understand how you got there. We get clear on where the hell you were going. We get crystal clear on who you need to know to get there. We get crystal clear on the tools that you need to grow up as a father. Because parenting isn't about kids, it's about us. In order to be a better dad, you first need to be more mature. You can't have a solid relationship if the flame inside you is not burning bright. Burning that inner flame is how you cultivate the strongest sense of relationships that you've ever known. And then we ask this powerful question at the end of this exercise. Who are you becoming as you build this skyscraper? What is the bigger message in all of this of who you are becoming? You cannot get where you want to go if you don't ask hard questions. You can't ask hard questions if you haven't walked hard roads. I've walked those hard roads. If you were out there looking for a program, if you've been in a program, whatever it may be, if you tried to get a result you've never had and failed and ended up back in the same roundabout, same gravel road, potholes everywhere, and your suspension is shot, find a man who's walked the road that you're walking so that he can point out and go, bam, this exit right here that's not marked, this is your exit and this is where you go. Every road in life is hard. Knowing the right ones is the most important choice that you make every day. If you want a result in your life you've never had, you need to do something that you've never done. Don't make the same mistake. Don't repeat the process of the past. If you want a better life, you need to ask better questions. Because the quality of your life is directly proportional to the quality of the questions you're asking. And if you want some of the best questions, those questions are forged in the furnace of life. I've taken my furnace. I help other men go through it. I can do it in 8 weeks. I often see dads investing in 90-day, 6-month, 1-year programs to change their life. I've been there. You can turn the lights back on in your life in as little as 4 weeks. I've taken dads that I thought were going to be the hardest dads to transform. That I was like, you know what, this dad, I'm not sure if I can pull it off. And then it works. And I get messages of connection with their kids. I'll never forget one dad who messaged me one day and said, I started hugging my 14-year-old son for the first time. And I reminded him in that moment that he gave his son a gift of what it feels like to be hugged by another man. It's going to change that kid's life forever. The little details matter. In the Marine Corps, there is a hierarchy or philosophy that I live by every day. You don't die because you missed the big things in the battlefield. You died because you missed the tripwire. Focusing on your mindset, focusing on all these different ideas that can be sold on Facebook, those aren't going to change your life. You need to walk through your own hell. The best way to walk through your own hell is to walk with a man that's been there. Because once you jump in the pit with someone else, I'm not there to give you another idea. I'm there to show you where the light switch is. I'm there to show you where the door is. Because one man's story is another man's window. Give a man a window, he begins to find the door. Give a man a door, he changes his life. If you want a result in your life never had, You need to do things they've never done. I am Ben Cloy. I am the dad coach. And if this kicked you in the nuts, I hope it did. If you want to know more, give me a direct message or drop down help in the comments. There is a path, and it's a lot quicker than you think, because I've walked through my own hell. That is it for this Monday morning rant. I hope it gave you the kick that you might have needed. Again, reach out, as I said. Head over to bencloy.com, link in the upper right-hand corner. There's also a link down in the show notes of this episode on the player that you were listening to. Guys, have an amazing Monday. I'll be back again tomorrow.